It is Wednesday. So live I go. For anybody who's jumping into the live stream or has noticed I was live, you may have noticed my bed has transitioned so that I am a normal human being and actually have sheets on my bed. I have finally taken the plastic off of the bed. There's no more plastic on it. I have actual sheets. And I slept on them for the first time. I did end up putting a foam topper on my mattress. I wasn't sure if I was going to use it because it seemed like it was going to raise the bed pretty high, and it has. So I'm still in debate about keeping it. It is a beautiful sleep, but it does make it more cramped to get in and out of the bed. Now, I only sleep in the bed, so I'm not tripping too much about, sitting up there casually. But so while the foam topper has been great to sleep on, it has raised the mattress about 3 inches or so, and I didn't have a lot of give space up there anyway. But it is so exciting to look at my bed and see it looking like a bed now and not a mattress wrapped in plastic with like some crumpled up sheets and a sleeping bag on it. So I'm almost feeling like a normal human living in a normal tiny house, it feels like. Oh man. Okay, so we have people popping in the chat. It's hard to read from where I'm sitting. All right. Chanel, Penny, Nancy, what's up? Thank you so much for being in the moderate. We got Carla Walker. We got Princess Pamela. What's up? We got Lindy and Lovey. What's up? Nancy, yeah, just jump back in when you get home. Paul Sherman, what's up? Carla Walker, what's up? I love just seeing names and recognizing them. Brenda, I cannot pronounce your last thing going on. Van Buskirk. Miss Joy, how you doing? Kiko. What do you say, Yoko Yukio? Sorry, I'm mispronouncing that. When gas is $5, what then? Try not to go far unless you have to. Granny Peacock, what's up? Jennifer, yes, bedding does make it feel homey. Definitely for sure. And you can't see him right now. You see that bubble backpack? Mickey is in the bubble backpack on the bed because that's, that's his spot when he's not on the cabinet. Like, if I can't find him, there are 2 places I check. On top of the white cabinet and in his bubble book bag. I mean, he's in his bubble backpack right now. All right. So usually I'm kind of random with these live streams, but I have currently been in what I like to call an insurance nightmare. So I assumed once I got an RV designation from the DMV, like that would be enough for me to get RV insurance. And I was so wrong. Just because the DMV has approved your vehicle for motorhome tags, your insurance company, which is going to go by the VIN, isn't necessarily going to see it the same way based on just the VIN. Apparently this process, if you have a conversion, is much easier with vehicles that we normally see converted, i.e. if you go out and get a ProMaster and you call Progressive or Geico or whoever they are, and you're like, hey, I have my Ram ProMaster or Sprinter or Ford Transit and I built it out into an RV, apparently the system has adapted to those existing. When you're like, I have a Ford E350 cutaway box van, they're like, what? So I've spent a lot of time on phone calls with insurance companies trying to get RV insurance. Now, currently, I do have insurance. It is commercial insurance. It's the commercial insurance that I got when I first got the truck. So I'm not sitting uncovered. But I am having a really hard time getting this vehicle covered as an RV. And that's kind of troublesome. Currently, Progressive said no. Geico said no. State Farm said no. And what really surprised me, because I thought they would say yes, Good Sam said no. And Good Sam is an RV insurance provider. Like, that's one of their things. And Good Sam said no. because basically they want the VIN, they ran the VIN, and they were like, that class of vehicle, we just don't cover, and we don't have a means of covering it under our current parameters. People sometimes run into this situation with buses, but if I had a bus conversion, there are situations where I would have gotten a yes where I got a no. Just because the buses are becoming more common conversions. And while box trucks have been converted before, they are a little bit more uncommon. So right now, I even called a broker, and he was even like, man, honestly, you should just insure it commercial and keep it insured commercial. Even he tried Progressive because he said that's his go-to for conversions, and I had already called Progressive, but I was like, maybe he knows a magic trick. And unfortunately, they wouldn't cover it as an RV. Period. So the VIN is sort of the problem. Like, if the company, a lot of the modern insurance companies depend entirely on buttons they can click on a screen. So they get your VIN, you tell them some information, they start filling in stuff, and if some sort of red flag comes up, unless like somebody else approves it to be otherwise, apparently it'll be like, this is not eligible for this type of coverage, and that's sort of what I'm running into. Now, I did find an insurance company, and it was a company that was recommended to me in my comment section. They're an independent insurer. They're kind of their own thing. They do insure RVs as a business, and they did ask me to send photos, which none of the other providers asked for. So I've sent them photos of the conversion and the VIN. I don't know if they're going to approve me or, like, you know, what's going to happen there. But hopefully this works out so I can actually get this insured as an RV and not as a commercial vehicle for all of the various benefits that provides. So if you're going to get an unusual vehicle, if you're going to go out the realm of the normal, in any way, and like Sprinter vans are pretty normal, ProMasters are pretty normal, Ford Transits are pretty normal. If any cargo vans of any type are pretty normal, you're probably going to be okay. There's probably some parameters for covering those. If you do go into buses, you may run into some of the problems I'm running into. And it also may depend on what state that you're trying to do this in, because it may be like in another state, this would be easier. And some of the blockage may be a California thing. I don't know that for sure, to be quite honest. But I can say, and I even signed up for Good Sam's roadside assistance. And when I was on the phone with them about insurance, they were like, honestly, I don't think we would tow your vehicle either. So you may just want to cancel your roadside as well, because I don't think it's going to work for your vehicle. So not only will they not insure me, their roadside would not cover me in an emergency. So I'm definitely going to have to call and get that refunded, because that was already paid for. And then I was just exploring the option of them giving me insurance as well. And AAA plus RV also would not tow this vehicle. So I am exploring sort of what options. That's another thing I want to get through insurance, is a surety that I have some kind of towing coverage if I need it. Because right now the options available to me is like, no, not for that. So that's just something to know. I know since I started building out the box truck, people have seen the space and how you can use it. And I've gotten a lot of comments that like, oh, I'm thinking about box trucks. Ooh, I didn't think about box trucks, but now I'm starting to think about it. Just know, because it's such an unusual situation, you may run into some of these problems. But there was a time when converting a bus was weird. People have always kind of taken large vans and done campers with them. But box trucks are a little bit on the unusual. So if you get off the usual path of something that you see a lot of, just know you will run into these problems. But of course, I always have to be the person, you know, walking to the beat of my own drummer. And I'm like, yeah, I'll take this old box truck and turn it into a tiny home. And then I'll just get it converted. I would do the DMV again. Before having to make all these insurance calls again. That's how bad it's been. So yeah, I really wanted to talk about that first in this video. thought about making like an edited video about it, but it's really just this, just me telling you what my experience has been trying to get insurance for the box truck. I will say, if you go for a more unusual conversion route, you do definitely want to try to find a broker as opposed to maybe contacting insurance companies directly, because they may have resources you don't have on the matter. And from a lot of the videos that I've been watching, people have had the most success in situations that were difficult have gone through brokers who have connections to varying agencies, and therefore might have a little bit more knowledge on who deals with a conversion. And I would say, even if you're thinking about a bus, this might be something you want to pre-check, because I did have somebody tell me, yeah, they were trying to convert a minibus, and when they were thinking about it, I think somebody left, maybe they left it in the comments, I don't remember where it came from, I'm sorry, but it was like they decided to go with a van instead of a minibus because they did a pre-check on insurance before they bought anything. So yeah, that's sort of what I thought it was going to be easy. I thought once the DMV said I was an RV, like any RV insurer would accept me, and they won't. And the thing about RVs, and the interesting thing was, some of them asked me if I converted it myself or had a company convert it, because there were situations apparently where I would have qualified if it had been converted by quote unquote a professional company versus being converted by me personally. So that was also interesting. And, you know, it's information to know, especially since things vary from state to state to state, situation to situation, and company policy to company policy. So you're up against all these things if you're trying to insure a conversion you did on a vehicle yourself. I don't know if I have anything else to say. I actually wrote myself a list because I was like, make sure I talk about these things. Let me see. Yeah. Yep, I think I covered all the stuff I wanted to cover. So that's what I have to say about this situation. I don't know. I'm going to scroll through the comments and see what people have been saying while I was running my mouth. Alrighty, let's see. James says the box looks great here in Houston. What's up? Dreaming Channel says, hello, my first time on the chat. I love your happiness. Thank you so much. David Daniel says, have you bumped your head on roof? Do you mean bump my head right there? You know, the thing is, I had never hit my head. Never hit my head since I built that bed. A week ago, when somebody asked me if I had ever hit my head, I've hit my head like 5 times since then. So you guys cursed me in the chat. I was doing great. I had never hit my head because I'm very aware I have to duck. And since somebody asked that last week, I have bumped my head several times. So I'm going to say you guys in the chat cursed me because it not happened before then. All right, let me see. I do not have a scooter because where the heck would I put it? I don't have anywhere to put a scooter. I don't have a way to carry a scooter. I don't have a way to do any of that. Jenna says, have you tried an insurance broker? I've tried one. And after he couldn't pull it off, I kind of was exhausted at that point. I'd been on the phone for half the day and got nothing else done. And so at that point, I think I sent one more email to a company that was recommended to me in my comments section. And they're the ones who said, send us photos and the VIN. And like I said, nobody before them had asked for photos. They just ran the VIN and they were like, sorry, we don't insure those type of conversions. And that was the end of the conversation. Like, there was no, let me see what you had done. So at least this company asked. I don't want to talk too much about it unless the process completes. I'm just like that. It's one of those things where, like, there's certain words I don't like to put in the universe until, you know, I feel like I've reached some kind of end to them. But it was a company that was recommended to me in the comments. They do deal not not only with RVs, but people who are full-time RVers. And so I want to let that process sort of go through its steps and see what happens before I make a final sort of conclusion on that. I don't know what Mike J did. I see a bunch of blocked messages, and it looks like Nancy was knocking him out. So thank you so much for taking care of that. I don't know what it is. Never saw it. So, I see a lot of people were asking to block Mike J. What did Mike J do? No idea what Mike J said, but I'm sorry while I was talking, I have no idea what Mike J was saying because I can't see the comments unless I scroll on the screen. So I'm sorry that happened. It looked like it was a real disturbance to the chat. Can I make you a moderator? I don't know if I can do it on the tablet. Like if I had the computer. Let's see what I can do. I'm gonna let that boot up, hopefully. Hang on. Let me see. Oh, you're not connected to the internet. Well, that's fun. Let me let that connect real quick and see if I can do something about moderators. I just opened my laptop. Roger Smith says, shopping for a mattress. Now I'm almost halfway done with the installation. Taking my time. Hope to be finished in another week. I'm ordering the Ice Cold Fridge Freezer soon. That is a good brand. $500. Yikes. Yeah. It's a lot of money to spend, but they're a good brand. So at least like it's going to a quality product. Yeah, thank you for getting rid of Mike J. I didn't see any of his comments, so I don't know what Mike J said or did, but I see it really, really upset the stream. Am I attached? All right, give me a second. Let me see. Let me see if I can get YouTube Studio. If you want to be a moderator, and I'll probably only make people moderators that, you know, have kind of their names I recognize. But if you've been around a bit and you want to be a moderator, let me know, and I'll see what I can do about adding them as I let me see if I can figure this out. Ugh. Missions. Oh, I think I found it. Yay! Let me see if I can. Let me see. Let me know if you're interested in being a moderator, and I'll see what I can do about just having more people available as moderators. Penny Walter says, have you been able to get from under the storage unit? I have everything that I want out of the storage unit, but I still have the stuff in the storage unit that I need to get rid of, that I don't, you know, I'm getting, like trash, a whole ton of cardboard, just from things I ordered, and there was just a point where I couldn't keep up with getting away with it right away, or getting rid of it right away, but I hopefully will be able to wrap it up by the end of this week, which is my dream. It's just a lot of stuff to move and get somewhere, and you can't take care of finding places to donate or throw away things when you're in the middle of a billion phone calls and waiting on people to get back to you. So yeah. Roger Smith is try insuring out of state. Can you insure out of state when you don't live out of state? The company who asked me for photos is an out-of-state company that can insure in California. So I am waiting to hear from them, but like I don't know what the parameters are for insuring out of state if you live in the state you live in. So yeah, I don't know. I'm exploring my options. Carla Walker says, thanks for sharing your experiences. I definitely appreciate all your tips and shared resources. Thank you. Christina says, it's great seeing your box van as it turns into a real home. So happy for you. Thank you. Gene Jones says, everything has to fit a computer-generated description. No humans to talk to anymore. Exactly, and that's what it is. Like, there are literal agents where I was like, there's buses bigger than I am that get insured. And she was like, I know. It's stupid. It's just that our computer won't approve a vehicle of your type. And it's not about what it actually looks like even. It's that the VIN says it's this. Yeah. Nancy, thank you so much, and I'm sorry all that fell on you, taking care of Mike J. I don't know what Mike J did. Like I said, I didn't see the comments. By the time I started scrolling again, it was gone. But I'm so sorry you had to, like, deal with that. Thank you so much for being a super moderator. Jennifer says, I had to get home insurance in a fire zone and a broker was able to get Lloyd's of London to insure me. Yeah, maybe I'll try to find another broker. This guy seemed like, he kind of gave up on it. He just told me to keep commercial insurance. Nancy says, I've heard it's easy to change the title from van to RV in Vermont. The title is not the problem. The VIN is what it is. The VIN never changes, and the VIN identifies what the box truck was. The California DMV already gave me new tags for this as a motorhome. That process is over. This isn't a DMV problem. It's a insurer problem. And the insurer can say the DMV says whatever it wants to say. The VIN says it's this, and unfortunately we can't approve that as a conversion. So, Penny Walter says, I'm sorry it's been so frustrating getting the right insurance. I hope you're able to find a company. Good to know about the issue I wouldn't have thought about. Yeah, me either. I thought once the DMV part was over, it would be easy, and it has not been. Miss Joy says, I'm in CA2 and this state is pretty strict about everything except crime. Just hope it's not CA that's making it hard for you to insure. Yeah, and I don't know how much of this is CA or company policy, but Scott says, my van was built as a Class B. I had to go through California Casualty. I had full coverage, towing cost of replacement, everything, including the van. Fairly simple and cheap. I should try California Casualty if this other company doesn't work out, or maybe I'll just try them. Let me try them. Oh, Jacinta, I'm sorry I am so late, but thank you for the $4.99 super chat. Alvester says, if you can, the bed should be lowered. So the way my bed is set up, it's set up over the door that's already there. I also have my toilet under there, so I do need to sit under there, and that's more important to me than sitting up in bed. I need to be able to sit on my toilet. I like where my toilet is and that it's out of the way. So one, I can't lower it because it is attached to the structure of the truck in a certain way, and the way that it's attached to the structure is the best way to make sure it's secure and stable. So I would have to secure it in a completely different way to lower it. Number two is built over the doorway that already exists. So yeah, I would just take the foam off and that would lower the mattress. If it became a problem, but all I do up there is sleep. I don't hang. The only person who hangs out there during the day is the cat, and he can stand up. He can stand up there on the platform. So, like, it's annoying, but for what I wanted to do with the space, it's still the best choice. Like, sitting up in the bed is not that important. I'm standing up. I sit up down here. Like, once I get up, I'm in this space the entire time. So yeah, I built it according to the space that was already there, and that's just, how much space I have up there, and I can live with it. The best way to scroll is right in front of the camera, so you guys keep seeing like the ghost of my finger. Nancy McIntyre, thank you for the $5 super chat. A treat for Mickey or gas for the truck. Yeah, they'll buy 1 gallon of gas for the truck in California. Renee says Mike was inappropriate about what he wanted to do with... Oh my God. Well, thank you for taking care of that. Sorry, I'm just getting to a lot of this stuff. He was just saying explicit things. Lindy and Lovey said, my insurance told me if it was converted to RV, they would not insure me. So I told him I was using it for camping and traveling. Don't want to repeat his words. I mean, yeah, like I wouldn't go to a commercial insurer and be like, it's an RV. I just have it insured as a truck. If I was going to keep commercial insurance just to have it insured, and I would say that I built an office in the back, or something like that, because I travel for work, all of which is true. So yes, you do want to choose your words very carefully. But when I was talking to RV insurers specifically about RV insurance, it was a separate conversation from changing the insurance I already have. So I wasn't talking to the people who insure me currently, if that makes any sense. It was a completely separate conversation to what my insurance is now. So it wasn't calling my current... I don't have a current, like, insurance agent who could do that. Even as how I'm currently insured, it's literally 2 different companies that I would go to about those different insurances, so it can never quote unquote just be switched over. So I was speaking to a completely separate person, and a completely separate department than my current insurance. So it wasn't a question of them dropping me because they felt like I no longer qualified for the insurance I already have, if that makes any sense. So yeah, this was more like calling insurance companies and saying, I've done this conversion that I am trying to get insured as an RV, and then just giving them the VIN. It had no association with my current insurance coverage. Kiza, Dawn, have I missed the tour? No, I have not shot one yet. I mentioned this last week, but I said I want to be in a place where it's pretty and I enjoy shooting a tour. I don't want to shoot a tour like in a parking lot or the storage unit. So you will still be seeing build videos come out for a while on Sundays. And when I feel like, okay, this is the place, it's pretty, I'm happy to be here, and also I feel like the conversion is done, there's still a couple things I'd like to do before I tour the vehicle. But also I still want to show you the process of building it, and I have all those videos. They're just going to be rolling out slowly. And honestly, now that I'm so close to being done, except for like a very small list of things, I can actually concentrate on putting out videos a little better than I could in the middle of the build process. Because for a lot of this build process, I was working, a regular job where I had to show up. I was on my contract with Oakland Theater Project, and so I had a job obligation. So there were days where I just had to get in as much as I could get in, and I would set up the camera to capture as much as I could capture, and then like I put the camera away, I'd be like, oh crap, and then I throw the camera in the truck. Like half the time I just put it in the front seat. I had to run and like shove everything in the storage unit that was going in the storage unit. Anything that was going on the truck that night I had to put in the truck. And I got in the driver's seat, had to get to work, got to work, parked, did the show, nighttime now, go to sleep, wake up in the morning. If I had a show, do it all again. And if I didn't have a show, it was right back into building unless I wanted to set that day to edit. And if I decide to edit, that whole day goes to editing. So that's a day I'm not building. It was just kind of a crazy process, and it worked out. I have my tiny home pretty much where I want it, which is great. But it's going to take me a while to catch up on the videos about getting there. Just because life. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not making enough from YouTube to like be posted up on some land where I can like, build in the morning and edit that night, have a video up by morning and start the building all over again. Like, I just didn't have that situation. Yeah. Penny Walter, I see that you're volunteering here. Let me see if I can get you 1879. As I see them, I will try to add them. Let me see if I can get you here. Why does it say no matching users found? This is annoying. And I can't do it on here because I'm on mobile, and when I'm on mobile, I can't do it during the chat. Make sure I don't hear sound. This is gonna be hard. All right, let's see. Let's see. I'm trying to see if I can do something real quick. I apologize for turning my back on you guys. I'm sorry. I'm on the laptop. It's sitting over here on the table. See? I'm trying to see if I can do something from here. Let's see. Yes, I can do it from here. Okay. Oh, shoot. I'm trying, guys. Give me a second. Sometimes. Alright, Princess Pamela, you should be a moderator now. Penny, you should be a moderator now. Just so it's not all on one person. Okay. I'm adding some moderators now. These are all names I've seen before, so I trust all you guys. And Corey, let's add you too. Sorry. Alright, so some of you should start to see wrenches beside your name. Oh, shoot. Sorry. And almost there. Jen, I added you too. So some of you should start to see wrenches beside your name. So if we have anybody else gross show up, hopefully that'll help. Holly asks, did I cover up the top window by your bed? I can't see it now. Let me see if I can get this off. This is on a tripod, so let me get it off for a second. Okay. No, I did not. There's the window right there. Now, it is about half covered up, but you can actually still see out of it, and Mickey even still looks out of it. Oh, shoot. Now I gotta straighten things out. Sorry, guys. You're gonna be a little shook up for a second. Because I need to set this back up. Alright. Doot. It's a little wonky now. Alright. Good enough. I'm just going to stop shaking the camera around. You can still look out the window. It's not a kid. Except Mickey still looks out of it. It is more covered up than I expected. But it also provides a really nice airflow if it's hot to have that window cracked. So I don't regret it. It didn't quite work out the way I thought it would. I didn't quite plan the height of my mattress very well. But the height of the mattress can always change if it becomes annoying. So I'm not too worried about it. Yeah. Lindy and Lovey says, I still get people to speak to at my insurance company. Yeah, that is such a beautiful thing. The big providers, like the big names, like, I can talk to people, but it isn't like I have an agent that's like my agent. It's, this is the department and this is the person who's available to answer the phone. It's not, hey, here's your personal agent that's going to be handling your personal case and gives a crap. So I clicked my buttons and it didn't work. So guess we can't insure you. Barefoot and Badass, thank you for the $20 super chat, says, hey, I'm just starting my channel. I'm wondering what laptop you use to edit. I've just been asking around to see what other creators I like are using before I make the investment. Thanks so much. I started out editing. Well, not started out. I started out editing in college because I actually was a film minor and was in the film club at my college. It was called LKT at Towson University. We were kind of a fake anti-fraternity, and we made films. And I also took film classes while I was in college. So that's not how I learned how to edit, like the basic concepts of editing. And I learned editing, this is going to be a long answer, on Final Cut Pro, because at the time that was like the choice of like cinema. But what it gave me was the fundamentals of just editing. So the reason why I'm going into this is saying the equipment honestly does not matter as much as the content. Now the equipment cannot look like crap. You know, I mean, like, you don't want to be shooting on something that looks like the 80s unless there's a rhyme and a reason to it. But generally speaking, the equipment does not matter as much as the content. And for editing and computers, the devices do not matter as much as the skills itself. So I would say always invest more time into learning editing than learning any editing program. Invest more time into understanding the concepts than worrying too much about the equipment. I have a cheap HP laptop. I don't even know the name of it. I'd have to like flip it over to see what it is. It was the lowest price laptop I could get over the counter that had a nice enough editing card for editing. And what I did is I used Filmora Pro X. I looked up the specs for Filmora Pro X, and then I went to the store and tried to find something affordable that covered those specs. It is not the best choice for editing. It is extremely slow sometimes with the exports, and it can lag with a lot of large files. When I started editing for this channel, I edited on my phone with a program called KineMaster, KineMaster. It was an editing program that you could use on your phone, and in fact, when my laptop was broke, I went back to using that for a little while. I don't like using the small screen and the scrolling, and if you have a lot of files that you're trying to pull from, you can't really put them all in like an editing bay together, which is why I really was so happy when I got my laptop back. So that's my long answer. I have a cheap HP laptop that fit the minimal specs for me to run the editing program that I'm using. So that's why I took the long way around that question. I don't know if it helped, but that's my long way around the question. Paul Sherman is mentioning that Mike J is a troll who got blocked from another chat. So I'm sorry he upset the chat, and thank you so much, Nancy, for like taking care of that. Lana Davis asks if anyone knows the deal with diesel cars in California. I do not. So yeah. Feed the Liberty Tree says I have Allstate for my schoolie insurance. That is awesome. Allstate told me no. Where's my cat? You see that bubble up there? You can't see him because he's kind of laying in the bag, but he's back there sleeping because he's a cat. You know what? I'm lying. I didn't call Allstate. Wait a minute. Let me think. Allstate. I did try Allstate. They did reject me. They were like, BoxTruck, no. I was trying to remember because there's another insurance company that begins with an A. Yeah, Allstate told me no. Renee says, Dawn, your house looks so comfortable. I'm so happy for you. Thank you so much. Fernando said, where does your wastewater pipe to? A container. Like, I don't have, like, underbody tanks or anything like that. Kim says, I'm so glad that it's really livable now and you're happy and it's comfortable and it's taken a long time for you to get there, but you're finally there. Enjoy it. Thank you so much. Cart Gamer has asked me about the first window. It's blocked a little bit by the bed at this angle. You can still see out of it from up there, but it's blocked a little bit by the height of the mattress at this angle, and the mattress does block about half the window. So it isn't quite what I envisioned, but it's there. And it brings in the breeze. So I have 3 points of bringing in air from the sides, which is all that really matters. Didn't quite work out as nice as I thought with the window, but that's a build, you know. Thank you, Vinny, for reminding everybody to like the video. Taking a second to hit that thumbs up is always useful. Elvester says, so far I love the build, especially the white cabinets. Thank you. I think I'll go with white cabinets. I was interested to see your taste in building. Great job. Thank you so much. I call it eclectic building because, like, I had some firm ideas. Like, I knew what my sink was going to be. I knew kind of where it was going to be. I knew I wanted that inner wall that I built. I knew I wanted the bed to be a loft bed. And I kind of knew I was going to put my toilet on this side or that side. It ended up on that side over there that you can't see because I'm pointing behind my body. So I had those firm things in mind. And honestly, the rest of it just kind of happened around that. So it was like, what are the other things I need and how can I build them around these base structures? You know those people who, like, they go into, like, van space and they make these beautiful detailed plans and then they build that? I didn't do that. I didn't do that at all. Like, there's just so many things where I was like, okay, the goal of this is this. How can I pull that off? And I tried something, and either worked or didn't work. So there were some structures in my head that were very firm. The loft bed, turning the fridges into steps to the loft bed, even though I do want them to be in a cabinet eventually. The sink, those things were very firm. Everything else was like, I knew I was going to do the stove oven combo too. I knew I wanted that back when I was in my van, but it would have took such a rebuild to adapt it into it, that it was too big of a time investment to work in the build that already existed. And at that point I was already thinking about, you know, the possibility of moving into something bigger. And I didn't want to invest a lot of time and money to something that I saw myself moving away from. Thank you, Nancy, for reminding people about the super chat button. Ooh, I'm seeing some ugly temperatures. It's gotten back to being a bit hot. Like, it cooled down for a little bit. Now it's gotten back to being a bit hot. Jen says Mickey loves his home being stable now. Yes, he really likes that. A lot of times with the projects I'm doing now, I can just leave him, like, walking around the house and just do it, and he'll look at me like I'm crazy and then go lay down somewhere far away from me till I'm done with the power tools. He's like, whatever, do what you're gonna do. I'm just gonna lay. Whereas before, I had to be very careful about what I was gonna do with Mickey while I was doing a project, and it feels really nice to be past that point, where I'm not upending him. Like, some days I took a day off just so he didn't have to deal with it. and we could just hang out in the truck together, even when the truck still had like metal walls and stuff. It was like sometimes I just took a day so that he wouldn't have his whole day turned upside down, because he doesn't know what's going on. But then he's like, okay, this is cool. I got like 15 things to climb on. You know the problem though? He's been trying to claw at this part of my seat recently, and I was like, you can't destroy my stool, Mickey. He's really. I love my cat. Oh man. Howdy neighbor asks how old I am. I am 41. I'm gonna be 42 in October. Robert asks, have I ever directed a movie? What qualifies as directing a movie? In college? Yes. I actually have 2 of the short films I shot in college on the internet under a completely different YouTube account. I maybe, as far as directing myself, I maybe did about 3 short films in college. I think 3. I'm trying to think. I had an incomplete stop motion animation film. I just found out how I love stop motion. I found out how hard it is. And so for anybody who doesn't know what stop motion is, let me go grab, because I got my stuffed animals. Don't laugh at me. Yes, I'm an adult child. I got my stuffed animals out of storage. But anyway, to do a stop motion film, let's say I want to make it look like he's walking. Well, first of all, I have to get him to stand up. And then I have to shoot a picture. And make sure I'm not holding him when I shoot that picture. And I have to move his foot like this, shoot a picture. Move his foot like this, shoot a picture. Let his foot land, shoot a picture. Move the other foot, shoot a picture. Move the other foot, shoot a picture. Move the other foot, shoot a picture. I only got like 4 frames in probably half a second from all that. This used to be my van pet as well. This is my dog, Isaac. He didn't need to be fed, and he didn't scratch up my furniture. All right, Isaac, we're going to put you back on the bed. So basically, I started to try to make a stop motion film by myself. I even recruited some voice actors from the acting department in the theater. Never finished it. I don't know if that counts as a film. Did I ever direct something that did anything? No. I also helped out on a lot of my friends' films in college, and I found out I actually liked that a lot more. Like, I like to write. I did not like to direct. I thought there were people. I really began to respect directing as a completely separate skill. Just because you write it don't mean you know how to direct it. And I really liked, honestly, the producing and production assistant type roles more. I was a boom operator, and a boom operator is just a person who holds the microphone. But I was a boom operator on a short educational film for this really small production company back in Maryland. So I've done a bunch of little things that were like film related, film adjacent. I've never worked on anything like big or significant that's worth bragging about. A lot of the people I went to college with, they worked on what was that show? It was based on a British show, but it's shot in Maryland. So there was Veep, and there was another show that's shot in Maryland. And a lot of my friends, the year I graduated, were just lucky because that was their foot in the door to the film industry. And so a lot of them ended up getting film jobs later on because those 2 shows were shooting in Maryland. And they luckily happened to be shooting around the time they were graduating. So suddenly there were all these film jobs in Maryland. And even once those productions shut down, because those opportunities were there, a lot of those people were able to carry those on to other types of film jobs. Again, nothing I'm going to brag about. Like, people are working on like these big like film, but they're in the film industry. They're doing editing jobs. You know, they're paying their bills doing film stuff. I had more experience at that point, even though I had done a couple of little things doing the theater thing. And so when I graduated, the jobs I was getting yes to were theater-based jobs in stage management, which goes back to what I figured out I was good at. Oh, I'm just going on and on right now. Which goes back to what I figured out when I was doing short films in college, which is I was better at sort of being an on-set organizer, like in the producer role, being the person that makes sure we have props on set, being the person who organizes the schedule, being the person that's coordinating, being an assistant to the director. Assistant directors are not like potential directors. They are assistants to the director. So if you ever see that title and think potential director, yes, it can be a pathway like a lot of things, but I became very interested in this assistant director position because I realized, it's not about you being like the sub director. It's literally being the person there who's going to coordinate the extras and do kind of the same kind of stuff I do as a stage manager. So that actually became more my interest as I graduated. I just never found a foot in the door. And unfortunately, I never got a really good foot in the door with higher paying theater jobs either. So I started doing that, thinking, I'm going to work these like small jobs and eventually it's going to lead to something bigger. And the one time it did, COVID hit and I lost my job. and then I ended up going back to working for a small theater I had a relationship with. So that's just kind of been how things have worked out. That was a long answer to have I ever directed a film? Sort of. If you count short films that were never in anything but a student film festival in college, yes. That was a lot of talking. People probably said a lot. I'm gonna thank you for congratulating all the new moderators and thank you for the new moderators for stepping up. Howdy Neighbor is asking, I assume is me, how did she make her van life? Did she have a place and then shaped for a van? I'm going to interpret that wording as how did I do this? I have no freaking idea. I was homeless and I was living in a car and I kept working on it until I made it better. And while I was in sort of the middle of that, I was like, and learning about van life, I was like, this is kind of something I could see myself growing in. I want more than what I have now, but I don't hate the mobility. I don't hate the freedom. I don't hate the flexibility. And I definitely appreciate the cost of not paying rent. So honestly, I started in a car and just worked my way up. I was legitimately homeless. I had nowhere to live and I had a car, so I lived in the car. After that, I got a minivan. After that, I did get a van as a donation, a full-size van. And after that, I bought this box truck. So those are the steps that happened. So late, Van Life Shorts. Thank you for the $20 super chat. It says the house is looking great. Looking forward to more adventures, and I hope you can travel soon. Love from NJ, New Jersey. Thank you so much, Van Life Shorts. Linda Posey, I am not 30. I was 30 11 years ago. Almost 12 at this point. But thank you so much for the compliment. Barefoot and Badass, thank you for the $10 super chat. Says, thanks for the great info. I took notes. My old Acer isn't cutting it for Adobe Premiere Pro, so I'm going to go looking around. Good to know I don't have to get on top of the line Apple. You don't, but what you do want to do is go to the website where Adobe Premiere has their preferred specs for the type of computer you want. Since you already have a system that you're editing on and that you're comfortable with, just get the specs for that and take it to a store. Apple is a good machine. And if I had one, my life might be faster. I don't have Apple money, so it's going to have to be slower. But use those specs sort of to make your decision, because if you go to the specs for the editing program that you're using, it will tell you sort of the base of what you need. Or even just type into Google, like, computer specs for Adobe Premiere or whatever. The first time I used Adobe, I was a rebel. Because in college, everybody was using Windows. Final Cut Pro. And I, like an idiot, I had a used laptop because I wanted to be able to edit outside of the student computer labs. And so I found this used MacBook Pro, which would be a dinosaur now. And I was sitting in, what do they call them? The places where you eat at the college. Anyway, I had a cup of hot tea and I spilled it all over my laptop. And so I had to get a Windows computer because that's all I could afford, and I needed a computer for school. So I got a Windows laptop, and I found out Adobe, which at that point was not a subscription service, worked on both Windows and Mac, which was not true with Final Cut. You could only use it on a Mac Apple computer. And that's why I tried so hard to get one. And I started using Adobe Premiere, and it's weird because at that point, it wasn't that popular. Like, Adobe's most popular program was Photoshop. And now it's what everybody uses, and I don't use it because I always got to use something else. Everybody's using Adobe now? Ugh. I don't follow sheep. I have to do my own thing. Ugh. I'm going to turn off this fan. I'm such a weirdo. Everybody else is building out buses. I'm going to get a BoxTruck. Everybody has dogs in van life. I'm going to get cats. I don't actually consciously think that, but it seems like that's how I operate. It's like, everybody else is doing this. What's the other option? Patty asked me, did I drive Progressive? Yes, I did. They rejected me. Robert says, it looks like your box truck has come together nicely. Thank you so much. Nancy X, is it cool in your truck? It's so hot here. I had the fans on. That back fan is kind of on 50%. I was comfortable. Like, it wasn't like, it wasn't like air conditioning, but I wasn't hot either, so I was comfortable enough. This shirt is horrible, and it's going in the trash. I have a whole bag of clothes that I'm going to throw in the trash after the build, because between, like, getting paint on stuff and I dropped bleach on it, that's what those are. Like, this shirt is going in the trash. But I almost don't want to do it because it's a Meyer Sound shirt, and Meyer Sound is like a professional sound company. So when I'm around tech people, they get super impressed by this shirt. They're like, Meyer Sound, did you work for them? How'd you get that shirt? But I'm like, it's ruined. But maybe I should keep it as a work shirt. I don't know. But people see Meyer Sound, like tech people, like people who work like backstage, because they do sound, they make awesome sound equipment. And like theater and film people are familiar with them. Like, well, Meyer Sound, man, did you work for them? How'd you get that shirt? Like, it's almost like a status symbol shirt in some places, even though it's just like this bummy, like terrible shirt. But yeah, I got this on a tour when I was working for Berkeley Repertory Theater. We went on a tour of their facilities and like saw some pretty cool stuff. So yeah, I'm sorry for that diversion about this shirt. But I was just looking at my bleach stains and I'm like, this is not how you YouTube. You're supposed to look like, some glamour chick who just did her makeup or something like that. I don't know. Samantha Olmstead says, I built mine the same way. Oh, this is a comment I said along. I'm so behind, guys. I'm so freaking behind. But I built mine the same way. I just kind of designed as I went to see what would work. Yes. And I will say, as hard as this situation has been to live in it while building it, it kind of in a more compressed way follows the same logic I had with my minivan. Like when I got my minivan, I spent about $500. I got a camping cot. I didn't build any sort of bed platform. I got some plastic bins from like Target because I'm too addicted to Target just because it's accessible. It's become an addiction now. And for less than $500, I put together something I could live in, and then I adjusted as I went along. There was a point where I pulled it all out and rebuilt something else. But I had no conscious idea what I wanted, except I needed something I could sleep in that was bigger than the car. And so when I got the minivan, I was just working around that concept. I kind of knew what my base layout was with this, but the good thing was because I was going to do my kitchen a different way, by accidentally putting things in a place temporarily, I was like, actually, this works better. And because I was actually physically using it, it really revealed that to me because I was living in here while I was building it out. Whereas if you like get a vehicle and you pull it into a driveway and you have these detailed plans and you build it out according to those plans and then you get on the road and it doesn't work, it's much harder to adjust. And so because I was kind of living in this in the city, you know, as I was building it out in parking lots at the storage unit, you know, places I was given to build for a little bit, whatever I could use at the time that I needed it, I was allowed to live with certain things I built for a minute and really ask if it works or where I was going with it was going to work. And because I wasn't all the way there, sometimes it was easier to backtrack and change it a little bit. So that's sort of the advantage of living in it in some way while you're building it out, is you really get a much clearer idea on what's not. Even if you go in with a plan, it might even be fun at a certain point if you have a comfortable driveway and a place to live while you're not building it out. It might be fun in the middle of the build just to go out in it, like with a very basic setup, kind of how you want it, and see if it works. Just to replicate that process, because so many times I see people do these elaborate builds and some of the stuff that comes up once they're on the road is really hard to fix. Some stuff is easy to fix, but some of the stuff is really hard to fix because it's such a fixed build, and I kind of got to experience my build as I was doing it. And in some ways, I was able to make adjustments due to that and change some of my ideas up a bit. Because like I said, I had some loose ideas and some firm ideas. And even some of those firm ideas got a little bit tweaked along the way. So, yeah. Georgia Peach, I am so late, but thank you for the $24.99 super chat. I'm glad you like the catwalk. Yeah, I like that he can just get around at the, you know. I see so many builds where like cabinets just take over the space, like from floor to ceiling, and I always knew I wanted some sort of open area that he could like get around the top of the truck. Because he loves height. Like he has like a little cubby hole on the ground. He's never in that stupid thing. He's always up. Like if he can, unless he's eating because I put his food on the floor, if he can be up, he wants to be up. He's very rarely down on the ground. So I'm so happy to be able to give him that space. Howdy Neighbor asks if I am a Libra or a Scorpio. I am a Libra, and we have hit the hour mark. So I try to keep these about an hour. So what I'm going to do is I am going to be scrolling kind of fast. I may not reply to everything, but I want to try to hit like specific questions as much as I can. Barefoot and Badass says I'm going to be 42 on October 8th. 10 days before me. I'll be 42 10 days later. Penny Walter says, try keeping a pillow on the chair when you're not sitting in it. That's an idea. Maybe that'll keep him from scratching it. I don't know. We got support on stuffed animals as an adult. Just got myself an Apple pillow and I have no regrets. Princess Pamela is another part of the October party on October 8th. Lindy and Lovey says I just turned 74 years young. I added the years young on July 29th. I'm seeing a lot of support for stuffed animals. Elvester says I have 5 stuffed animals that stay on the corner of my bed, and I'm turning 61, 62 in October. We need our stuffed animal comfort friends. Oh, I'm seeing so much support for stuffed animals. Awesome. Linux says, have you ever thought about trying to work in New Mexico? They do a lot of filming here. Breaking Bad was here, and currently Better Call Saul and others. I have not gone to New Mexico to randomly find a job. I have gone on a website where they hire production assistants. I've just never gotten hired for anything. And it may be because so much of my resume is in theater now. Earl Blackman, how's exercise going? I have not started back up, and I will not until I wrap up at the storage unit. Just because between storage units and phone calls and DMV visits, like, there's just been no time for anything. So I have literally the day that storage unit closes, which hopefully will be at the end of this week. I am doing everything I can to make that true. That Monday is the day I start back with the exercise. Now, what I have actively been doing is getting back to making food, because there was a period where I went back to buying food, and when I say buying food, I mean fast food. Of course, you always have to buy food, but I'm trying to make sure I do, like, that was where I started before, as I went back to, like, getting most of my food from the supermarket, trying to stay away from snacks. If I am snacking, I want it to be like fruit, like it's in this bag right here, and stuff like that. So I've been trying to correct my snacking, reduce my snacking, and get back to cooking like real food, as opposed to as much as I cook anything, because I'm not really a cook. I bought this from Target. God, I'm obsessed with Target. I don't know how I became a Target person, but I fell in love with this because, yeah, that sounds about like me. But yeah, so I've really been concentrating on correcting my food habits for about the last few weeks since the show closed, because it really fell apart while I was doing the show. Just because, like, the easiest thing to do when you've been doing stuff all day is to go to the fast food place. And I was spending, honestly, most of my time at Taco Bell. And I know I'm going to hear there's healthy stuff at the Taco Bell. It is so easy to eat an excess of calories when you're going to, like, a fast food place. And on top of that, people would bring food into the theater, and people would offer food, and then it feels kind of rude to start rejecting it. And some of the stuff you want to eat, and some of the stuff you just feel rude for rejecting. So I was just having a really hard time, like, controlling what I was eating, the quote-unquote quality of it, and all these other things. So, like, the last 3 weeks, I've really been focused more on food, because weight loss happens in the kitchen, fitness happens in the gym. Fitness supports the process of eating better. Eating better supports the process of gaining fitness. And so, like, for right now, the big concentration is getting back to that. Eating properly, eating reasonable portions, and not doing things like Taco Bell. Like, I had so much Taco Bell during this build. Taco Bell should have sponsored the build. It was accessible. Right beside the Home Depot I go to most of the time is a freaking to Taco Bell. And it was just so easy, and they have vegetarian options. Because it's a vegetarian option does not make it healthy. It just makes it an option with no meat. Robert says, have you figured out why your laptop is so slow? Is it the processor? Too little RAM. Probably too little RAM, I think it is. Like I said, I got the lowest specs I could get to match my editor, and I also just need to clean some files off of there. I've been working on that as well. Like, the whole thing is just bogged down with stuff it doesn't need to have. And so, like, I'm trying to figure out what I need to keep and what I need to delete. Tina says, I use Corel Pro Studio. I have never used that. Be a rebel. You know, when I started using Adobe, everybody was using Final Cut. And now Adobe's the thing. So you might be the trendsetters. I'm glad to see you in the chat, Tina. Woo! Sorry. Lindy and Lovey says they use their phone. No editing for me. Can't afford a computer. I don't expect my channel to ever be big. Why not? Chrome Valdez started his channel on an iPhone. And there are so many people who started shooting on their phone. There are editors for your phone. Just get one and start playing with it. You don't have to actually post the video. And there's the thing. Like, probably about I don't know, about 10 to 20% of what I actually shoot ends up in a video. So don't be afraid to like shoot stuff just to play with it in an editor. I made a music video. This is before I had this channel in college. I took a music video that I liked of a song I like, and I took a movie that I liked. I ripped it so I had digital copies of both. Don't ask how. If you don't know how to do it, you shouldn't be doing YouTube. And then I edited those two things together to create what's called a fan video from things you don't own, basically. And, you know, you can get a copyright strike for it, and you can say, I don't want to make money from this. So it actually is still on YouTube. As well. And that was just me playing with editing. It wasn't anything I was going to make money from. It wasn't for a channel that I was trying to blow up. Like, so sometimes just take some clips offline and like download an editor to your phone and see if it's something you like using. It doesn't have to be something you're going to post. Sometimes there's value in just, you know, playing with stuff and just feeling it out. Like before I decided to use Filmora X, like, I downloaded a bunch of editors and I was like, I hate this, and I didn't use it anymore. And I was like, I hate this, because I was trying to look for something cheap where I didn't have to pay a subscription fee. And the reason I use Filmora X isn't because I don't like Adobe. I freaking love Adobe, but I don't want to pay a monthly subscription for it. There's other things I pay money for just for this channel. Like, I pay a music subscription service. It doesn't cost that much, but it's a bill I've taken on because I do YouTube. And I didn't want to have to pay for Adobe. Like, right now I can't afford it. And so I have to really think about like what subscription services I have that help me do things. And I really wanted to have music. And I was like, well, how expensive is this? And when I priced it out, I was like, okay, you know what? If I can't afford it anymore, I can just drop this. But this will help me do some stuff with my videos that I want to do. And like I said, just download stuff and play with things. And it can be fun. And there are editors you can use on a cell phone. I know so many people who edit on their cell phone, or edit on their cell phone when their phone isn't available. So yeah. Janice says, how long has the live been going on? And this was a while ago. This was at like 7:30. It's been going on over an hour, and I said I wanted to wrap it up, but I want to scroll through and make sure I covered things that are popping out at me. I see comments on my shirt. Jacqueline Bailey says you could do a DIY bleaching of the shirt around the logo. Look it up. The black makes a nice brown design. So I would basically turn everything this color that looks different to me than it looks on camera. That might be kind of cool. And then I would still have the Meyer Sound logos on it. So like I could still have my my clout in certain circles. Jesse Farrow, such a late thank you for the $5 super chat. Janice says, I'm slowly getting stuff together for a van build. Do you think it's worth it starting with a smaller Jackery like the 240? And do you believe, I think you was supposed to, do you believe in going as large as possible? Honestly, Janice, it depends on your budget. And the truth is there's no wrong answer. Like, if you want to have a fridge, do not get a Jackery 240 and expect it to do what you need to do. The largest honestly, if I'm going to be honest, my two favorite Jackeries to recommend are the Jackery 500 and the Jackery 1000. Not the 1500 and not the 2000. Now, don't get me wrong, I am enjoying using my Jackery 1500, but I think the 1000 and the 500 are both better. One of the reasons I like the Jackery 1000 is it has an Anderson input and it has a standard 8mm input. So that means it's very easy to use different panels that aren't Jackery with them. It is hard, impossible, and or annoying to use it with the 1500 or 2000 because they have a different connector. It looks like the same connector. It is not, and it's kind of a pain in the butt. The 1000, if you're able to make the investment, will do a lot for you. That is also compatible with regular panels. If you're going Jackery, of course, there are other options out there. The 500 is the biggest station they have with those 2 additional 12-volt ports, which will allow you to expand out your 12-volt options. So the Jackery 500 is a bigger, beefier station. If you have access to solar, it's going to be, again, easy to hook up the solar panels via the standard 8mm plug that's common amongst a lot of other power stations. So if you're doing a fridge and you can't quite afford the Jackery 1000 and you want a Jackery, the Jackery 500 is another option. The 240, the 300, that's for like if your only power needs are like a cell phone, and I don't know, maybe you want to run a 12, a USB fan on occasion. If you have very small power use and maybe you're going to use a cooler instead of a fridge, then maybe the 240 will be awesome for that. And it's also, if you build your own battery bank that's inside of your vehicle, something like the 240 or the 300 is really good for an additional power source. So it would be secondary, not primary. So anyway, I'd recommend something as small as the 240 or the 300, or honestly any other power station in that size category, is if your power needs are really low. Don't get it and expect it to run an Instapot, especially not on a daily basis. I don't know what the power draw on an Instapot is, but either way, like, 240 is kind of small. I mean, it is what it is. What is your budget and what do you expect it to do? Some people have very unrealistic expectations about what you can get just because you have a solar panel and a power station. So it really depends on like what you expect, and what your budget is. So yeah, that was my long-winded answer to that question. Lindy and Lovey, thank you for answering that question. Deciding on a solar generator depends on your usage. I have a 1500 watt and 500 watt Bluetti. There you go. And that's basically my answer. It depends on what you expect it to do. The Jackery 240 is great. There's nothing wrong with it. And if you expect it to do what it can do, if it's there to like occasionally use with a laptop, charge a cell phone, provide power for a couple of small things here and there, it's going to do great. And I don't care if you get Jackery, Bluetti, Rock Pals, one of the at least decent, better known ones though. Stay away from anything that's like Talent, Solar, Wind, Cell, or something you've never heard of. But if it's one of the more better known brands, probably you're going to be fine as long as you don't get like a Jackery 240 or some other smaller power station expected to run an air conditioner, your fridge, and have power all day for everything in the world. So yeah. I'm seeing a little more love for stuffed animals. Renee is thanking me for my dish towel, my kind of homemade. Lindy and Lovey says, I just love a rice cooker with easy to use. Yes, I'm with you. Oh, no, I mentioned Taco Bell and I tapped in Jen. Charm Heart is in Target more than Walmart. Charm Heart also says, I started getting squeeze pouches for my no refrigerated fruit and veggies. That's an idea. Thank you. I don't know what Agent Bean says, but if it wasn't nice, naughty. I'm glad I got more warriors in the chat right now handling things. Gene Dumfro says, I like the Road Pro lunchbox cooker. Plug it in the 12-volt while driving. Rice in 30 minutes. Chicken and meals in 45 to 60 minutes. I have had the Road Pro cooker, only reason I got rid of it because I personally didn't use it that much, but I've heard so many people recommend that thing. And it's basically like a lunchbox that you close and you plug it into 12 volt. And when I did use it, that's exactly what I did, was I would put something in the Road Pro, close it up, plug it into 12 volt, drive, and then when I got to my destination, I had a warm meal. I just found I wasn't using it when I was static, when I had to think about it. But it's actually a great thing, and I've heard so many people love it. So I'm glad you brought that up. Misty's Everyday Life says, Dawn, what is the best film editor? I've tried Filmora and can't figure it out. The film editor doesn't matter. Honestly. Not too much. It's more about the features it has. Like there are so many people that use what's the one that's Apple that's not Final Cut? I forget what it's called, but it's a film editor that comes with the computer, and I know pretty big YouTubers, or I don't know them personally. I've watched pretty big YouTubers that stand by that, and professional film editors would laugh at them. So the best film editor is the one that works for you. I will say this is a plus in the Adobe column. I was able to figure out Filmora X because I've used Adobe, I've used Final Cut, and in a lot of ways, a lot of these things are similar. But the good thing about Adobe is if you've never edited before, it is very easy to find tutorials on Adobe. So if you're really like, I haven't edited it before, and I'm really looking for a guide on how to use the features of an editor, I would recommend Adobe just because there's so many resources for it. So if you can't figure out how to do something in Adobe, and I did this while I was learning in college for Final Cut and Adobe, you can literally go online and be like, how did it do this in Adobe? And then some annoying 12-year-old will do a video on it. And like me, you'll be cursing out that 12-year-old because you're mad a 12-year-old knows how to do something that you can't do as an adult. So for learning, if you're really looking for a lot of access to resources on how to edit, I do recommend Adobe. Like if you're that kind of person that's really looking, just because there's so many resources on it. What is that other editor? See, it's going to drive me crazy. So now I need to look it up on the internet. Film editing Apple. iMovie. That's what it's called. So I had to look it up. A smaller editor, Final Cut is the professional editor for Apple. The other one is called iMovie. iMovie is for dummies, I hate to say. It's not for dummies, but a lot of people use iMovie. A lot of times I think it comes with Apple computers. I don't know that much about Apple. And a lot of people use it, and like a professional film editor will laugh at you if you say you use iMovie. And there are beautiful, wonderful pieces of content that are made from iMovie. And all of that to say, like, there is no best. There's what works for you and what you can do with it. It's just a tool. Like, I have tools. I have a bunch of tools. I have saws and drills and all that other kind of stuff. And like, I've done okay, but compared to some of the craftsmen out there, like what they could do with the exact same tools I have, because they understand the tool and know what to do with it, is going to be way different. Which I know is not the answer people want. They want like a list, like get this camera, get this computer, get this editor. If you're looking for a lot of support in order to learn how to edit, I recommend Adobe just because of all the resources available for it. And I do like it. The only reason I don't use it is price. And for me, Filmora is close enough to Adobe that I was able to adapt and figure it out and even work through the things that are unlike Adobe. So yeah, that's my answer to that question. If you're really looking for something that's beefy, that has a lot of support, that you can easily find tutorials for, Adobe's my recommendation, Adobe Premiere. If you're willing to play around, you know, you can just experiment. Just look up editors, film editing online, and see what kind of resources are out there. Yeah. I was supposed supposed to wrap this up in an hour, and I'm still scrolling, but there's so many things I want to respond to in here. Janice says, I didn't want to get a Bougie fridge, so maybe go with the 500 Jackery. They are so expensive. Yeah, and if you want a fridge and you want enough battery power to keep it on all of the time, there's not really a cheap out. You would really be pushing it trying to run a fridge on a Jackery 240. Especially in warmer weather. Because like a lot of these fridges have compressors now, a lot of the 12-volt fridges, so it isn't always pulling power every hour of the day, but like if it gets hot in your rig, or that's why a lot of people still insulate their fridges even when they're really nice fridges, because you know they're going to pull power when they need to get up to temp, and there's people who still will unplug their fridges at night just to not pull that power. So you'd be axing a lot of a Jackery 240 to power a fridge. If you're just starting out, honestly, and you don't have a lot of money, honestly, I would say at least try to get by with a cooler. Chrome did it longer than I did. He did it for years, and even when he got his fridge finally, he said what he was most excited about was the freezer, not even the refrigerator, because he did his thing with ice. Ice got on my nerves, and I got rid of it really, really fast. But I would say if you're on a budget, at least try the cooler. As long as you don't go buy like $1,000 like Yeti cooler or something like that, see how much you can live with and save a little bit of money. And if there's so much to do during a build when you're starting from zero. And yes, in a way it saves you some money to get everything up front. But if your budget is really tight at the beginning and you start trying to piece together sometimes the things, you thin yourself out so much that you're still going to end up rebuying because you didn't buy things that could support what you were trying to set up. So I would say, like, give the cooler thing a shot. It's a way to save money. If you can live with the fact that you're going to have to fetch ice and be a little bit more proactive about making sure your food isn't spoiling, it can give you some time to build up the money to get the power you need to run a fridge, because a fridge is never going to be independent. The fridge is always going to be dependent on how much power you have to keep it on. And so those two things are going to add up to a significant amount of money, no matter what you do. If you want to keep a fridge on 24 hours, especially for people on a tight budget, for somebody who can afford to buy like a high-end Sprinter and like a bunch of lithium batteries, $400, $500 for a fridge, nothing, But for people who are on a budget, it's going to be much more challenging to like have money for those big ticket items up front and do a build, Nancy McIntyre, there you go. You have 2 power stations and you switch them out. But it sounds like if you're stretching the budget just to get 1 power station and 1 fridge, you just don't have the money for the second power station. But if you can afford it, that's another way to do it, is you have a power station charging while you have 1 running all your stuff, and then you switch them out at some point. Gene, do you have 200 watts or 200 amp hours? I'm scrolling to see, because we're hitting an hour and a half, so I'm scrolling, seeing if there's any questions I want to jump on. Oh no, Anna says I accidentally deleted my content using iMovie. That sucks. Paul Sherman says Skillshare is another place for how-to videos and classes. Yes, absolutely. Antonio says search Reddit for, you don't even have to search Reddit for Adobe alternatives and iMovie alternatives. That's how I found Filmora. I just typed something like that, alternatives to Adobe in like Google, and a bunch of stuff came up, and I think I downloaded like 5 things before I decided on Filmora. But if you've never edited before, the reason why I could figure out Filmora is because I've edited before. And so in looking for an alternative to Adobe, I was looking for specific things that I found familiar. And the thing about downloading a random editor, even though it may be cheaper, is it may not have as much support if you're looking for teaching tools. So that was sort of what curved my recommendation. And some people don't care. They'll just open stuff and start using it. I do that sometimes too. Rescue dog treats, I did not resolve the insurance issue. I do not have RV insurance. I am still insured, but I am not insured as an RV. Chanel says, did I build a ladder to the bed? No, what I have is one little step there, and basically I step up on the fridge, and I go from the fridge to there to the bed. So yeah. Oh, right. So it seems like I've reached the end of the scroll, and I didn't see anything that I needed to reply to, and we are past the hour-and-a-half mark. So I'm gonna wrap things up. Thank you all for dropping in. I just saw something. I have looked into DaVinci Resolve. Somebody asked me if I have looked at DaVinci Resolve. Free extensive training, free. The only reason why I didn't download DaVinci is I was like, this is going to take more time to learn than I wanted to dedicate myself to, and Filmora was really easy and worked with the computer that I got, so I kind of just stuck with it because it works. So yeah, I am interested in DaVinci because DaVinci as an editor is gaining a lot of ground. Like I hear people talking about it more and more. So I think at some point I should at least try to use it, but it's like I'm so comfortable with Filmora. I was like, I don't see a reason to break what works. It does everything I need it to do personally. I'm not editing movies. I'm editing YouTube videos. And I think sometimes people go into overkill when they decide to start a YouTube channel. They want the exact answer for the best camera, exact answer for... I've talked a lot about this in this scroll. Yes, I've heard of DaVinci. I have not used it. All right. I'm seeing Progressive pop up again. Progressive told me no. Progressive is not an option for the BoxTruck. For people who have regular RVs or things that in their system, great. But Progressive was like, no, not a BoxTruck. That isn't what they said, but that's basically what it comes down to. All right. Good night. If I see anything else that makes me start talking, I'll be on here for another 20 minutes. Good night. Good night. Good night. I'll see you guys next time. All right. We're gonna... I keep putting my hand in front of the freaking camera.